Good day, I'm Kirsten Cilliers and I head up product and development at PX4. At PX4, we work with organizations managing land and spatial data across multiple projects and jurisdictions. But one of the biggest challenges is that operational data and spatial data often sit in separate systems, making it difficult to keep everything alike. In this short walkthrough, I'll show you how we connect GIS platforms like ArcGIS, as well as how we can set up geoservers for those outside of the ArcGIS ecosystem, allowing your data to stay synchronized and managed in one space. Here we are looking at our PX4 dashboard. With that comes our GIS, which has active layers that represents live data within projects such as tenement data, land parcels, and soon-to-be agreements. And as you can see, if I select a layer, it will automatically zoom into that layer where I can see either polygon or point layers. When I zoom in and we select one of these polygons, all data from within your GIS layer will be displayed underneath. As stated, in this case, it is linked to the authority number, or as we want to call it, the claim. This is an Ontario claim, so I click into it. It will take me directly to that claim where I can manage my land. I also do have the representation of my GIS map that brings in any of all data that is required. And as stated, it is also linked to projects. So if I were to select the project, and in this case I'm going to select an Ontario project, you will also see it directly brings in the data again with all the related tenements for that project. And I can zoom in or out, and when we select the tenement, it underneath does have all of the data. As stated, all layer data is fully linked back to PX4, and these layers are managed by organizations or the clients themselves through our admin panel. Once you go into the admin panel on the right hand side, you have got the selection whether you want to add your ArcGIS or your GeoServer. At the moment, we're looking at ArcGIS implementation where I can directly through SSO link my complete ArcGIS environment, or I can link individual layers. These individual layers, if I was to click on, for instance, the Ontario, you can see that its associated attributes is in that through a mapping field. And all the data associated with these attributes, such as climate, plant details, ownership, key metadata, everything that's fully contextual behind every polygon on the map is fed back to PX4. We also do have the ability to directly push data from our PX4 system through API keys that can directly integrate with your chosen GIS environment. These APIs is easily set up as well through the administrator portal and feeds back every and all information that we have, whether it's project related, whether it's authority or claims related, agreements, land parcels, and as you can see, all the way down to stakeholders, communications, and actions. Alongside ArcGIS, we at PX4 also support GeoServers. The GeoServers is easily spun up and managed directly within the platform. From here, we can define layers, services, manage endpoints, and control how spatial data is published and consumed. As you can see, underneath, we have the GeoServer instance. In the GeoServer instance, we have got the variable sort of information that relates to that server itself. We can add repositories, and within the repositories, we can add individual geo packages with their given layers. When we click on these, we can easily identify and see all the attributes that is associated with those layers. At the moment, we do have a restriction where this is then viewed outside through a program such as QGIS. where we consume the data that it is visually displayed. But over the next 6 months, we are focusing all our power on putting PX4 as a map-first implementation. And we will bring the QGIS functionality to the forefront where, as stated in my initial introduction, we aim to manage your geospatial data and your land management all within one platform. This concludes our GIS introduction. And as said, you can see it easily allows you to expose PX4 data as standard map services, making it easy to integrate with tools such as QGIS, where users can further manage and work with their spatial data. Now, PX4, we strive to further develop and become a map-first application, where we are aiming to create a seamless bridge between project data, tailwind data, land management, access, aligned with agreements, and your spatial insight. As part of our roadmap over the next 6 to 9 months, we're continuing to expand on our GeoServer capabilities and bringing more of that spatial experience directly into PX4, so users can manage both data and maps in one place. Thank you very much.
Raise your hands if you are using scheduled reports as of now. Raise your hand if you'd like to be using scheduled reports. Okay, good. Who is actively using PX4's REST API? Nice.
We use other systems like Power BI or any other types of databases where you want to, Tableau, where you centralize or amalgamate other data.
We can start with a basic question. Does every question answer the API? Yes. No. They start that.
I mean, I wish we knew because Kirsten could have described it for us, but essentially an API is a call for data. So it's one system either wanting to push or pull data in or out of another database. So for PX4, which is a repository of a whole bunch of land-related data and agreement data and stakeholder data and things like that, we have a whole bunch of essentially endpoints that want to push that data out for you. So if you have community engagement reporting or stakeholder reporting, things like that you need to do, if that data is, or any of that data is living within PX4 but has to be merged with other data that you're managing on a broader company sense, you can pull the PX4 data with that API and amalgamate it with other data sources. So tools like Power BI and Tableau are obviously really powerful in that space. Again, we don't want to compete with tools like that. We want to empower our clients who are using them to have access to all the data they need to use those tools. But it's essentially, again, an API is essentially just a way to pull or push data between databases. So again, within PX4, we're using an API to pull your spatial data, but we're also using APIs to pull your financial data from ERP systems. But we can also push that data into other databases if that's useful and valuable for you as well. So again, given maybe the limited hands that have gone up, if there's people that are interested in that type of functionality and you'd like to be able to use that data elsewhere in other systems, let us know and Sean and the team can show you how to access those APIs and make sure you're getting the value out of those as well.
Absolutely. Is anybody using the department audit feature on a regular basis? Less.
I see it on a regular basis.
Okay. Wonderful. What about bulk pathway actions? All right. Sean, do you want to explain a little bit about bulk pathway actions and what we mean when we refer to?
Yeah. So when you're going to complete actions, you could complete single step actions basically in bulk. Now you can also complete pathway or workflow actions in bulk as well. As long as they meet certain specific criteria, they just have to have the same. They'll have to have the same associated data. Essentially, I can walk you through it if you want to see it live, but it previously wasn't available to bulk complete, for example, pathway actions. Okay, for now it is.
Yes, thank you. And then how about the gateway when you're loading in a new group of claims that maybe you've picked up in Nevada or on Ontario. Are any of you using that to load in your claims data? All right, Emily.
Anybody
Okay,
who's loading new claims.
okay, great. So it seems like we might need to teach a little bit more about how to do that, or maybe you just do it for them.
Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. All right, we're going to open up to any Q&As right now before we kind of hop into Leslie's talks. Anybody have any questions or anything they'd like to chat about at this point in time? Okay.
Just should have some freshness because I just
Oh,
tea.
yeah, Lee. Yeah, Lee.
You mentioned in the previous slide about the audit feature.
Yeah.
And this lady here throws her hand. Just curious if you could elaborate more on what the audit feature is.
Sure. So in certain jurisdictions, we are tied into the governmental database that holds details on claims or land status. Essentially, you are able to compare the data that you have on those claims or pieces of land in our system compared to what's in the governmental database, and it will flag discrepancies and tell you, okay, it looks like you picked up this claim in Nevada, but it's not updated in the BLM's or NDOM's database yet. Maybe contact someone at the department. Do you need to follow up on this, or can we ignore this discrepancy? Anything else
If
you
you,
want
if
to
you
add?
go back a slide. So the PX4 gateway and the department audit are pretty interrelated tools. So the gateway is a separate database that you don't really see, that is essentially a repository of a whole bunch of departmental data that we're able to access around the world. So without listing them all off in a place like Alaska, Nevada, Ontario, Quebec, Western Australia, there's a bunch of jurisdictions around the world where we're able to access relevant, valuable, and accurate data. So there are limitations for that around the world about the quality of data we're able to get. And in terms of our roadmap, we are looking to have this capability in every jurisdiction that we're in. So we're doing a lot of expansion on the department audit and the gateway scope in terms of the breadth of jurisdictions and the breadth of databases that we're able to access. But where we are able to access relevant and timely data, we pull that data out almost every night. So mostly every night in most jurisdictions. And all of that data then lives in the gateway, which is that separate database. The gateway then communicates to the PX4 system in a number of ways. So when you pick up a whole bunch of new claims or new land, if it exists within the government database, you can use that to onboard all of your information straight into the PX4 system. So it's a bit of a starting point. Instead of having to manually update or manually upload data to the database, we use the gateway as a source of truth because it's pulling from the government databases as a starting point. And then you can then bulk update those claims and that data based on other information that you'll have internally. So the first kind of step in the department audit capability is in onboarding and kind of data migration. But once that data is then in your system, every morning the PX4 system then conducts an audit of the data in your database versus the data that we're seeing in the gateway. And the system will then do an audit to identify any discrepancies. So if, for example, someone in your system has manually changed an expiry date from 1 April to 1 May, the next morning the PX4 system will say, hey, I can see a difference here where the department's telling me that your expiry date is 1 April and PX4 is telling me it's 1 May. Who's correct? And at times, the PX4 system will be more accurate and more up-to-date than a regulator's database if it hasn't been updated. But oftentimes, the regulator will also be more accurate than the PX4 system. So it's a really powerful tool that gives you peace of mind that the data you're seeing in your database is reflective of what you're seeing at the regulator or departmental level. And again, I'll get to those too. There are some limitations to that, around the timing of data. Some jurisdictions, the data is often 6 to 8 weeks behind. So then having your PX4 system up to date and getting the daily, paid, something's wrong, reminders can get really tedious. So we've also then incorporated the ability to switch off that audit at times for specific jurisdictions if you know that you're ahead of the regulator's data. And there's also some limitations on the types of data or the data fields we're able to check. So depending upon what's publicly available, that will limit us in what you're able to then audit within the system. And that's different in every jurisdiction. But Herb, I saw your hand shoot up there down the front.
Yeah, so two things. First of all, I believe mostly you're talking about federal versus state, county. Do you
Yes.
do county?
We haven't got any county databases in the system at this stage, but again, given the expansion in that space, if there is a useful online county database that we can access, we'll be looking to expand to try and get as wide coverage as we can.
Okay. And then secondly, private versus public lands. Are you handling that kind of information as well? And if so, how?
In certain instances where you can log in to a database and see more data, we have a PX4 login that we use with a script that runs to log you in and automatically log in and get access to the data that we're able to see through the login. But if data is hidden behind, like if data is only available to you as the holder of land or the owner of land, we're unable to access that information. But whatever is publicly available within a database, even within a login, we're able to access that. So in many jurisdictions, the land ownership data and the claim or the authority data is separate. So I'll use in Australia, New South Wales, for example. We've got all the lot and plan details for New South Wales in the system against your claims. So if you have any land parcels in the database that align with the lot on plan reference at the department, it's auditable within the database. But again, if you've got examples, and this is for the whole floor, if there are examples of databases you're accessing that you would want the PX4 system to be auditing, that's a really helpful hand for us to have to not go out and find it ourselves. So again, there's the only limitations are the data that is available through that database. And oftentimes as a holder of a claim or of land, you'll get more insights or more data than you would if you're not the holder.
The reason I bring it up is county is usually much more on top of things than BLM.
Yes.
So just for your knowledge, at least here in Nevada and Arizona for sure.
Right.
A good little note for us to make to look into, but thank you, they're great points. And Paul, I saw your hand shoot up down the back as well.
Yeah, the only question I had was jurisdictionally, do you have the BLM? Is that where you can pull info from the BLM?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And again, the way that it's currently pulling is I think there are some limitations on certain jurisdictions, but it's again, there's a big push to get the full spread of the available data that is out there from the BLM into the PX4 system as well.
It's kind of also what Kirk said that we zoom in a little bit. So if we do have the Nevada available, we'll zoom into Nevada instead of just covering BLM federal claims in Nevada. We'll zoom into Nevada State's claim database instead. So we're trying to get down to the last possible point to find us a little bit of data that we can get from those online databases.
Yeah. There's also, we've got some more to talk about the gateway moving forward as well. So we're excited to talk more about that as well. Well, I'm surprised it's the first we're hearing from you, Leslie.
I know, right? It's Tuesday. And I do appreciate the snark. On the scheduled report, so you can send those to people. Can you send them to Slack channels?
Send an email address that goes to Slack?
Instead of any email address, so you know how we communicate. If we were to put in wanted to post it directly to a Slack channel, if we put in the channel name, would we be able to?
No, not correct. Yeah, we could have the enhancement.
For the brain arrow.
Okay, something we can look into, definitely. Okay. So that's Q&A.
Questioner?
One more.
Yeah.
So just a note from that I put after hearing a lot of what you're talking about. What are you doing about keeping the information from being hacked?
Great question.
There are lots of things that we do from a cybersecurity perspective that are highly relevant. So again, we've got clients that operate on a private server. We've got clients that operate on a multi-tenanted server. So there's similar setups to both. But we always suggest that the private server is always going to give you an additional layer of protection, being you're not accessing the multi-tenanted environment. But we have regular penetration testing third-party penetration testing conducted on the system to ensure that there are no vulnerabilities for access into the system. We have blocked off a whole bunch of they're called ports, which is often ways that people access the system. We've blocked particular IP addresses out of countries like Iran. I won't go through all of them, but there's lots of countries that you actually can't access the system from. It's mandatory multi-factor authentication to log into the database. You can also implement single sign-on or like an Active Directory authentication to log into the database, which is a company-by-company setup. So there's lots and lots of things that we're doing to ensure that the system is secure. The external penetration testing is probably the most relevant. So we get attacked. We pay to be attacked by a third party, by a professional hacker that comes in and tries to identify vulnerabilities. Because every time you release new code, you can be releasing your own vulnerabilities. So that happens at a mandatory basis at a minimum of every 6 months.
And everything on PX4 is also encrypted. It's the HTTPS and pointer, everything, every communication between your device and the server is encrypted. So no one can sniff that and be like, oh, Herb is looking at his tenants again.
So that's all locked down.
It's a great question.
Thank you to that.